how does one play this if you're Joe Douglas? You don't call? I mean, obviously you don't know who's called who last, right? But
No, you don't. But you do sit there and you're. I've been in situations where you have regular conversations and you trust your conversations and they're very communicative. And I've been on the other side where you are knocking your head against the wall, waiting for a call, trying to get some semblance of completion to a deal like this. This is a really, really interesting one, of course, as we all know.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Swingers, Thomas, where the Jon Favreau character is calling Nikki 15 times the girl he just met at the bar, and he blows the whole deal straight up in just one night. That's what it seems like. If Joe Douglas is calling, hey Brian, just checking on you, see how you're doing, and I don't know. The thing that kind of surprises me is that the compensation appears to have not been worked out prior to the plane trip that the Jets took to take Rodgers out to dinner out here on the West Coast. Is that surprising to you, Thomas, from afar?
No, I don't think it's surprising. I think we often have conversations like, look, you're given permission to do so, or you're getting, given the check off by the clubs to keep you in a good spot. And then you go out and you realize there's no deal here and there's a lot riding on it. When you start talking about a first round pick, that's, obviously that's big. In my mind, I'm sitting there thinking about the two of these guys discussing this and, the discussion out there, who has more leverage, right? Is it Joe Douglas with the Jets or is it Brian Gutekunst? I really do believe right now that the Jets have a little bit more leverage because I don't know what they're going to do there in Green Bay. There's a lot of angst there, as you can imagine, right? They want it done. You flip it over to the Jets side, however, they need their guy in there right now. I get anxious as a general manager when I don't have my team together, working together in the spring, spending time together and growing together. That is a big deal. I still think the Jets have the leverage.
Especially since, in my mind, Thomas, Rodgers has already announced his intention of wanting to play somewhere else. And, and I'd understand if a front office wants to make sure a fan base that it would be, writ large, livid, upset over turning a page away from yet another generationally brilliant quarterback that they've had now back-to-back in Green Bay. You want to, quote-unquote, save face. But this is just something that everybody knows. Green Bay doesn't want him back. He now officially doesn't want to go back there. Green Bay wants to move forward with Jordan Love, fully aware that he's not Aaron Rodgers and he might not become one. And the Jets need Aaron Rodgers because we all know Zach Wilson is not Aaron Rodgers, and we don't know if he'll ever become one. Right? I mean, it's so obvious. So then what is the dance about? Like, what insight can you give me about having been in dances before, Thomas?
Well, yeah, dances as they are can be fun, and they can also be, again, they can kind of be sweaty and smelly if you're thinking about them, right? And when I start thinking about this dance that they're playing right now, they're both in a really tough spot, meaning both general managers. I can answer to that. I've been on the hot seat a hell of a lot, and it is not fun. And both of these guys have an element of heat on their seat, and I think they're very good at what they do. They're both very even keel, so they're not pushy guys out there. Some of the other guys out there that are really pushy with their trading and their moves. These guys are hanging in there. They know that they both have, again, they both feel they probably have an element of leverage here. I guess what I'm saying in the end here, without rambling about it, is
go ahead.
I really do believe that he ends up going to the Jets. They end up looking at, potentially, the whole future idea, the futures and what they're going to do contingent on the amount of time that Aaron stays with the team and the production that he puts forth, whether that's Super Bowl related. I think you get creative like that, and you pass up this year's first, so you don't worry about this year's first round. Maybe you think about next year's. Remember, there's always a discount when you're talking about future, right? If you're talking about a future first round, that might settle in well along with, potentially a second and a third round this year. That is where I think it's going to go, and I think they're going to ultimately have to settle on something very creative, again, contingency-wise.
And then when do you think midnight strikes? When do you think both sides will realize, okay, in this midnight deal-making league, it's nearing 12:01? Do you think 12:01 might be? Draft, after the draft, training camp? What do you got for me on that front? Your best guess.
I don't know. I would love to go into the draft with this all completed. So, I mean, that just is such a solid feeling for a general manager, right? You have it mapped out. You have a good idea of where you are. You know where you need to be focusing. That's on both sides of the ledger in my mind. So, look, I think it has to be before the draft personally.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.